Hey everybody, and welcome to the test episode 1 of Truman's Town Hall. What's this podcast going to be? Well, we did a few podcasts over on the one I started called Inspired and Admired. What the concept of that one was going to be, and what is and will be, is I talk to different folks or I tell different stories. Some may be known, some may be unknown. Many of them are unknown stories that are hopefully inspirational, stories that you can listen to and feel good about. There's a lot of negative in the world, and I don't run away from the negativity, but I don't want to always promote that. So that's where that podcast came from, Inspired and Admired. So where is Truman's Town Hall? Truman's Town Hall is basically the podcast that I will be doing about the city of Huber Heights. So I stay up to date. I talk to a lot of people back home. I still watch the council meetings, some of the commission meetings. I haven't watched a school board meeting in quite a while, but I'll start incorporating that into my viewing pleasure. Anyway, what I want to do is have a podcast that promotes Huber Heights in a way that we can talk about issues without arguing. There's a difference between arguing and debating, in my opinion. And there's also a difference between arguing and arguing as well. I mean, you can argue a point as part of your debate. I get that. But arguing when we put in vitriol and just anger, I'm not into that. So, that is what Huber Heights Town Hall is going to be. I will try to keep people informed on what is happening each month. I think we're going to start off with a monthly podcast. If it gets to the point where we need more, then we'll move it to a bi-weekly deal, and we'll go from there. But I think right now a monthly podcast where we can put everything in perspective, all the commission meetings, the work sessions, the council meetings, the school board meetings, the articles that come out in the Huber Heights Courier and the Dayton Daily News, any other inside or information that other folks want to provide or get out, we can do that as well. So, that is what Truman's Town Hall will be. So, one thing that we are going to do on Truman's Town Hall is this. I'm going to start uploading the episodes that I did with the candidates for city council. I'm going to start uploading those. So you may hear them say inspired and admired and things like that, because we did it on that podcast. Now we're reversing it over because there were a lot of people that were listening to that podcast, or those podcasts that we did with that. So I said, well, I still want to do the inspired and admired and get different stories and things like that out there in the world. But there's a lot of people that are interested on what happens in Huber Heights. So let's split them up and do 2 different podcasts. Anyway, what I'm going to do is upload the candidates podcasts on Truman's Town Hall, and I'm going to election night do a live podcast of Truman's Town Hall, and I'm going to have some council members on, citizens on. I'm going to give a little bit of commentary on some of the things that I think Huber Heights has been working toward, some of the things that I've talked to people about, that I think would be good moving forward. So January 1, after the election, we'll take a break on that, and then January 1 we'll start back up. I'll do a recap of what happened last year, and then we'll have a new council. You won't have a new school board because nobody ran against the school board, and that's one thing that kind of sparked my interest. Is I am under the belief that new ideas are good to bring about. Not saying that old candidates can't bring new ideas. But I do like the fact that other people, you have options when you go to the polls. That's important, that you have options. The school board, you had zero option. Everybody that's running for school board is already on the school board. We could talk about things like that, and we will. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't spoke to anybody in the school board yet, but maybe some folks in the school board may come on the podcast and we can talk about different issues at the school. I don't know. Anyway, so there's that. So come January, we're going to dive into some new things. Hopefully this will help folks stay up to date on what's going on. You can 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour drive to work. You can listen to the podcast, kind of get a hint of where Huber Heights is, where it's going, and if you need to jump in somewhere, go to a council meeting and voice your opinion. Go to a school board meeting, voice your opinion. You'll be a little more informed, hopefully, and you will want to be more informed. I'm not claiming we can cover everything in that time span once a month. We'll hit the major ideas, and then it's for you. Hopefully you get interested enough that you share the podcast, and then other people start to research things, and then the community becomes a whole community, a whole informed community. So there's that. That, in a nutshell, is what Truman's Town Hall will be. So, with that, I'll tell you this. I have added some new, improved. I'm actually doing this podcast on my telephone, which is cool. Usually I do it on my computer, and I have a soundboard and headphones, and I don't know, it's all hooked up to the computer. But anyway, I'm adding some different things. I'm going to start adding live podcasts. I'm going to start adding different equipment to make the sound quality better, things like that. So down the road, we'll have different things, and those sound effects came with this the app that I use for the podcast. So yeah, I was just testing them out through this test podcast. So episode 1, that's this, episode 1, Truman's Town Hall. It's a test podcast. I'm going to see it. I've another thing, I need to get at least 5 podcasts on in order to get it on iHeartRadio, because people listen to podcasts and on different platforms. So some of you have an iPhone. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes. If you do, leave reviews. That helps it helps the podcast get out there for other folks to listen to. Some folks may have an Android. You can listen to this podcast on Stitcher Radio. Some people may want to listen to it on their computer. If you want to do that and you're sitting at work or at home and you're doing work on your computer for whatever reason, there's the Spreaker.com/show/235-7014. Wait a minute. 21, yes. 7021. That's the Inspired and Admired page. That'll take you right to those shows. And once I get this up and running, Truman's Town Hall, I'll give you that as well. So you could probably find everything there as well. That'll be all the shows kind of connect to that, I think. Anyway, so that's it. Test episode. I just wanted to let everybody know what we're going to be doing, where we're going to be going with this, and I will see you. Probably we'll see you live on election night, November 7th, probably around 7. I think the polls close. It's either 7 or 7:30. Doggone it, I haven't looked. I know it's 7 or 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. That'll be 8:30. Or no. It'll be 6:30 my time. So, anywho, Central Standard Time. Anywho, we'll go election night. We'll go live. We'll get some reaction from the folks. I'll try and get some of the candidates on here. One has said that they would do it. And we'll kind of keep some of the guests as a surprise. So when you listen, you're like, oh, interesting. I don't know. That's what we'll do. Anywho, if you like this show, give us a review. Like us on Facebook at True Podcast. It's also Inspired and Admired Podcast. That's where a lot of these will be seen. We're on Twitter at True Podcast. And you got the website. Go back and if you get bored and you're cleaning up the house, getting ready for a fall garage sale or whatnot, go back and check out some of the earlier episodes of Inspired and Admired. There are a lot of different episodes on there that I think there's some stories on there I think you would enjoy. So check that out. And I'll let you know this on Inspired and Admired. I'm going to put 2 more. I think there's going to be 2 more podcasts coming up with. One is a candidate and one is a closing of that. We'll do that, and then we're back into the regular format of Inspired and Admired. There's that. All right. Subscribe to Truman's Town Hall now, and I will see you folks on down the road.